Hi, gorgeous, and welcome to the Confident, Energized, and Sexy Mama Show. I am Dorit Palvanov, your host, feminine energy expert, health coach for women, registered holistic nutritionist, and the creator of the groundbreaking health and mindset program for moms, Energized, designed for perimenopausal women who are done having kids and are ready to get their confidence, energy, and sexy back. Ladies, think about it. What would the world look like if, as women, we stopped being so harsh on ourselves and instead felt more energized, powerful, confident, and more connected to our bodies? What if, as women, we honored the fact that we are built and wired differently than men, and being different does not mean being inferior? That the go, go, go mentality, alongside doing more to have more without ever pausing and resting, only leads to chronic stress, anxiety, burnout, overwhelm, lack of joy, and corrodes our health, relationships, and vitality. What if, as women, wives, and mothers, we had the courage and confidence to desire more? More freedom, power, energy, joy, abundance, pleasure, fun, play, and sex, all on our own terms. Mama, you deserve to feel good. You deserve to form healthy relationships, and your body needs, craves, and deserves pleasure. This is your birthright. You're here because you believe in your feminine energy. You're here because you care about health and the environment, and you're not afraid to take action and change. You're here because you don't want to pass on a pattern of self destruction, hiding, and not speaking your truth to your daughters. You're here because you're done feeling stuck, living a mediocre life as a half woman. You're here because you are done struggling and, frankly, can no longer afford to feel like crap. Each week, I will be here for you, dropping a healthy dose of inspiration and motivation, as well as introducing you to my brilliant guests, where we will dive deep into all things womanhood, feminine power, energy, psychology, holistic and alternative health, food, nutrition, hormones, fitness, mindset, motherhood, relationships, sex, business, and much more. So, Mama, are you ready to take back control of your health? Let's do this. Hey, gorgeous. Welcome to another episode of the Confident, Energized, and Sexy Mama podcast. This is Dorit Palvanov, your host. Happy Valentine's Day. The spirit of love. I'll be totally transparent. I do not celebrate Valentine's Day, but I know a lot of you do. So, in the spirit of Valentine's Day, I thought I'd talk to you about love, and then we'll talk in particular about love for food and what we can learn about ourselves about the way we eat. There's so much wisdom there, and I really want you to start cultivating this awareness. So, I think a good place to start would be to define love. So many people talk about love. It is a well known feeling and emotion that most people want to experience and want more of. We think we understand what it means, but the truth is, not really. So, before we get deeper into this juicy conversation, I want to remind you that today's episode is sponsored by my brand new course called From Picky Eater to Healthy Eater. This program is a collection of sessions that I've had with feeding experts, with nutritionists, dietitians, pediatric doctor, speech language pathologist, a meal planning expert, kids cooking expert, conscious parenting coach, tube feeding expert, and even my own daughter who shared her experience as a child learning to love food. These are not random conversations that I've had with random people, but strategic conversations with questions that I've had myself as a mom of a picky eater and questions that I've gathered over the years from thousands of parents who connected with me through healthbeginswithmom.com. To this day, I've had about 250,000 interactions with parents, and all of them are concerned about one problem, and that was picky eating, which is why I've created From Picky Eater to Healthy Eater program. This program will help you save thousands of dollars as well as hours of research and agony because I've done it all for you. I've invested over 100 hours into this project, so all you have to do is tune into the sessions and apply the strategies you hear from experts and solve that really hard problem of the difficulty of feeding your child once and for all. So if every meal is a battle, if your child fails to grow and thrive, if your child is on the low percentile of growth, if your child eats less than 30 foods, if your child is anxious in general and about food in particular, this program is for you. So to check it out, go to www.healthbeginswithmom.com/courses, ends with an S, /picky-eating-course. And that's it. It's only $47 for the whole thing, and you get lifetime access to the recordings, as well as one 30-minute coaching session with me included with your purchase. So if you purchase the course by the end of February 2020, this month, if you're listening in real time, you are going to get this added bonus. And you can use that session to ask me questions about your child or about your own health. It's your call. Use it however you want. All right. So I will make sure to include this link to register to the program in the show notes. And that's it. All right. Let's jump into today's topic. So how we eat equals how we love. All right. So I'm going to get a little old school here. And the reason is that wisdom is really old. As human beings, our struggles are really not unique. Many people before us had challenges similar to ours. And really the best way to change is learn from stories and mentors. And it gives you that sense of normalcy that, there is nothing wrong with you. And many people actually do struggle with something similar, which is why I follow the Old Testament's definition of love. So in the Bible, love is really one of the foundations of society. The love of God, love of other humans. It says in the Bible, love your neighbor as yourself. And then, of course, we are responsible to love all other creations. So our capacity to love is dictated by our capacity to love ourselves. When we feel worthy of love, then we can extend this love to others. So in Hebrew, which is the language, the holy language God spoke at to create the world, the word love is translated as ahava. And as you guys know, I speak fluent Hebrew. So ahava, it's a word that is built from 4 letters. Aleph, Hey, Bet, Hey. And the root of this word is to give, have, lehavi. So to extend or to provide for others, that's the real meaning of this word. Meaning that our ability to love lays in our ability to give and care for something that is outside of ourselves. Of course, like I said earlier, this can happen assuming you love yourself and deem yourself worthy. This will never work in a narcissistic relationship. So, okay, now we have to define what a narcissist is. So a narcissist or narcissism is a person who has an excessive interest in or admiration of themselves, right? So they're completely consumed with their own needs, their own feelings, their own desires, to the point that they don't have the capacity to be empathetic for other people or other beings. Now, empathy is at the heart of love. In order to extend off of yourself, you need to be able to feel what other people feel and to connect to that, right? One of the most primal ways we learn to love is through food. When we are born into the world, our first interaction with a caregiver, right, would be through nourishment. It can be breastfeeding, bottle feeding, and then there is hugging and adoring and admiring each other, hearing each other's voices. This is how we learn to love, and food is the vessel. So we are all different as human beings, but there is one thing that connects us all, and that is food. We all need it, we all depend on it, we all survive because of it and derive happiness from it. In fact, food is part of who we are. It's part of our habits and cultures. Hundreds of TV shows, movies, and podcasts revolve around the topic of food, and cookbooks always sit among the bestsellers. Food is even part of how we interact with others, right? You've probably heard of people who proclaim themselves to be foodies. And they share their recipes and dining experience, right? And who hasn't posted a photo of their favorite dish on their social media channels? I know I did. So as you see, the talk of food is all around us, and it's actually not going to change. It's not going anywhere. Now you might be thinking, Dorit, I don't need to learn how to love food. I already love it. Is it that obvious? I eat every day, 3 times a day, sometimes more. I have tons of recipe books. I follow a bunch of people, of recipe developers on Instagram. Okay, so I get it. You eat. But today's episode is not about eating out of necessity, but rather out of love and deep caring for yourself, and particularly that ability of cultivating the sense of empathy for yourself. Now, why does this matter? It matters because as a mom, your kids are watching you. In my practice, I see many women and many moms, they inherit their own mom's eating habits unless they were aware of them from a young age and then, wanted to change that. So if you know that your eating habits need some adjustment and you want to teach your kids to have a more loving relationship with food, keep on listening. So let me ask you this. When you eat, what occupies your mind? What do you do while you eat? Do you check your phone? Do you work? Do you watch TV? Do you play games while eating? You get where I'm going with this, right? In other words, are you eating mindfully? Now, why does eating mindfully matters? According to Dr. Christiane Northrup, mindful eating is the practice of deliberately noticing every sense associated with eating while leaving your emotions out of the experience. This rewires the brain and over time helps to restore your intuition around eating. All right, so I talked many times on this podcast about intuitive eating and the ability of providing for yourself just as much as you need, just the kind of foods that you need, right? If your body needs healthy fat, then intuitively you would reach for it, whether it is in the form of avocado, of fish, or maybe coconut oil, or maybe some good organic grass-fed butter. So that ability to intuitively provide for yourself, it is something that I believe we're born with this ability, but over time, especially if we have, unhealthy habits around food, we could just, numb this ability, this skill. So what we want to do is we want to restore this intuition around eating. It also reduces stress and it creates a more positive relationship with food. And overall, this contributes to your enjoyment and well-being. So let's walk through, I have 8 points to help you become a more mindful eater and therefore a more empathetic person who is able to extend love to yourself and as well as to people who are around you. So point number 1, practice the phone off the table rule. So the phone is likely your biggest distraction. I know it is mine, but it doesn't end with the phone. All electronic devices should be turned off when you eat. So whether you eat alone or with your family, especially when you eat with your family, I want to introduce you to something that really changed my mindset and my habits around, having a phone to distract me while we eat. So I love Simon Sinek's YouTube video. Definitely go check it out. I'm going to include the link in the show notes. So he has this video about our cell phone use and how we allow our phones to destroy our relationships. And of course, it's not done deliberately, it's done subconsciously. So when we come to the table and put the phone, what he says is when we come to the table and put the phone on the table, right? So many of us used to do that or still do. What we're saying with this behavior is you matter. But if I get a phone call or if this thing beeps, it matters more than you. So imagine you're sitting at the table and you're having this, family time and your kid starts talking and then your phone beeps. If you pick this up, what your child is learning is that this matters more than them. Okay? So what he talks about is to create a rule that you do not come to the table with your phone. It's just a rule. So leave it off the table and focus on the food. So you can chew it, so you can taste it, so you can chew it, so you can feel your body's sensations, including hunger, thirst, and satiety, right? All these feelings are so related to this ability of eating intuitively. And why this matters is because I hear so many of the ladies who connect with me through the podcast and through my websites is that one of the biggest problems is their inability to stop eating, and they just, they don't have any portion control habits, and they overindulge, and they feel like food has some sort of a control over them. And that is, I understand that. I mean, sometimes I have that too, but that's how you can change that, right? It's using your awareness, the power of your mind, and slowly making these little tweaks, those baby steps on your way to change. So that is point number 1. Point number 2, say please and thank you. Now, I know usually you hear this advice when you are raising kids, but I'm noticing that so many moms, so many women don't know how to appreciate and how to cultivate gratitude. So city life has many benefits. However, it makes it really easy to forget that food is not grown in supermarket aisles. Right? When you eat, remind yourself, and definitely talk about this with the kids, where did this food come from? Where did the food you're eating come from? For example, how does asparagus grow? How does an artichoke grows? How about animal food? Do you know where the food you're eating came from? Was it raised humanely? And through these questions and through this process and through the focusing on the food and where it came from, offer gratitude to the growers of your food and focus on the journey that your food made to get to your table. This will definitely raise your satisfaction as well as create a nice atmosphere at your dinner table. Gratitude creates a ripple effect of abundance and expansion. So for those of you mamas who tell me, why can't I be nice to the kids? Why can't I, focus on joy? This is how. This is why. It's because we as women, we have the tendency to highlight the grind and the hard and the chores. And instead, what we need to do, and I'm totally speaking to myself right now because I definitely have that tendency. It's using gratitude and really being thankful for the things that we do have. Okay, so saying please and thank you to God, to the universe, to to the people who grow your food, to the people who deliver the food, to the people who sell the food, for having access for the food that you have. This is how you can begin cultivating the sense of love and abundance and expansion, and also empathy for yourself, for being able to provide for your family, and to buy this food and have food at the table, as well as cultivate it with your children and your partner, your friends, and people who are around you. All right, point number 3: be with your food. What do I mean by be? Notice yourself when you eat. Do you have a tendency of inhaling your food? I know I do. Do you eat way too slow? Pay attention to the food. Notice the colors and smell it. Focus on each bite and notice the different tastes. Try this game with your kids. Serve different flavors and see if your kids know to distinguish between different tastes. So see if they can pick up on sweet and sour and salty and bitter and spicy and maybe even astringent, although it's challenging even for adults. It's a great way to develop their vocabulary around food and also emotions, and really express how they feel, right? It's a great exercise. And you yourself might be surprised how little you know yourself about the flavors of food. So this is a really fun game. But the point here is to be there, right? To completely be immersed in the act of eating. This is how you will over time develop that ability to be more intuitive with the food, more grateful in regards to the food that you eat. And then slowly you will see how you will overindulge less, and you will overeat it less, because how can you treat or mistreat something that you revere so much, right? It's like abusing your child. It's not going to happen because you love them so deeply, right? All right. Okay, point number 4. Breathe. So it's related to point number 3. But when you eat slowly. Allow one inhale and exhale in between chewing. Chew your food and really taste it. This will do wonders for your digestion. And like I said earlier, it's one of my main struggles, because I have a tendency to zoom through eating. So I would often overeat. And then I would get bloated and get indigestion. And oh my gosh, by the end of the day, I would come to my bed feeling like a balloon. And one of the things that so many mamas tell me is is the feeling of feeling uncomfortable in the evening when it's time to connect intimately with their partners, and having a full belly bloated with gas, and like that is the most unsexiest thing ever, right? I mean, my greatest fear is like releasing some gas or tooting during like intimacy. Like that is something I'm not saying it never happened. It did. But like for me, that's the greatest fears that I have. Anyways, but I know that a lot of you feel the same. So in order to prevent this, and of course, there is a lot to be said about food combining and how, the kinds of food that you choose and eating in alignment with your menstrual cycle. Like all of this stuff is, of course, and it's valid. But even if you eat kale during your ovulatory phase, which is when you need to, even if you eat the right kind of food in the right kind of time, but if you eat it, if you inhale it, it's still not going to do it for you, right? So those basic habits, they need to be in place. So yeah, for me, if I know that this sounds simple, but it is definitely not easy, and I'm still working on this one habit alone for over 3 years. So this is how long I have this awareness. But sometimes are better, sometimes are worse. But the point is to have the understanding of it, and then reminding yourself. So breathe when you eat. Point number 5, feel. Pay attention. Do you feel happy or a sense of guilt when you eat? Is mealtime stressful? For those of us who are raising picky eaters, I know for me, meal times were so stressful. Like, you work so hard to create these beautiful meals, and then in like 1 second, my daughter would say, it's yuck, or it's disgusting. And that on alone would so like totally raise my stress levels. So if the answer is yes, then ask yourself, why? Why does it happen? Why do I feel guilty? Why do I feel happy? Why are mealtime stressful? Right? And so once you identify your emotions, accept them, and without fighting them, simply release them. I often hear my clients say, I eat my feelings, or I eat emotionally. That's just how I am. Well, here's something that might surprise you. We all eat emotionally, right? Food is supposed to feel good. It's supposed to taste good. Imagine if it didn't. How would we do it 3 times a day without getting any pleasure from it? How terrible would that be? I once had a conversation about food with my rabbi. I asked him, why did God create us needing to eat 3 times a day? Why didn't he create us not needing to eat at all, or only eat once a week or once a month? And I loved his answer. He said that our relationship with food represents our relationship with life itself. Food is life. Food sustains us. It nourishes us. How we eat is how we live. If we rush through food, we often rush through life. If we overeat, we often have a tendency to say yes to too many things. When we eat emotionally, it often means that we don't understand ourselves or on an emotional level, and need basic tools to cope with our feelings, right? Many women who have this tendency to eat their feelings, a lot of them struggle with weight gain. And that is because psychospiritually, if you think about it, weight is a way of hiding, right? So what are you hiding? What kind of emotions are you not allowing yourself to feel? So notice how you eat and allow this awareness to help you change your relationship with life. You guys, this is so powerful. This on its own, it's going to change your life when you actually start infusing this into your day-to-day. So point number 5 is feelings. And I talk about embodiment a lot on this podcast and in my practice. As women, the capacity to feel is one of our superpowers. This is one of our divine gifts, because we were created as connectors. And in order to connect, we absolutely need to be able to feel. This is a very, very feminine trait. I talk about feminine energy and feminine power a lot on this show. This is a very feminine trait that a lot of us just don't know how to utilize. So this is a great way to begin doing that every single day, because we all eat, right? Okay. Point number 6. Don't eat on the go. Now, I know this advice is not always practical for us moms, because multitasking is how we get things done. But I do want you to make an agreement with yourself to try to sit down, at least try to sit down while you eat as much as you can. And driving seated doesn't count, because I know that's the first thing I would think about. Okay, when I can eat when I'm driving, I would be seating. So it doesn't count. So I know you're eating your kids' leftovers. I'm not even going to tell you not to, because we all do it. So instead of eating leftovers out of the container over the kitchen sink, we've all done this, designate a place to eat and create a bit of ambience. Plate your food, yes, even if it's a leftover, and sit down to enjoy it. Stay seated for the entire time you eat, and this will help you to focus on the act of eating. And again, the more focused you are, the more you're eating mindfully, the more connected you would feel to your food and hence to your body. Okay? So yeah, point number 6 is don't eat on the go. Point number 7, don't eat alone. So if you want to instill healthy habits at home, start with creating time for family meals. And it doesn't have to be during dinner. There's so much advice about dinner time. I know many of you work late and it just doesn't work out, and that's okay. So think about it. Can it be breakfast with the family? Even if it's 15 to 20 minutes long, it still counts. Maybe it can be a brunch, or maybe it can be lunch. If you want your family to eat mindfully, if you want to create connections with your kids, schedule a regular time for your meals. Usually, dinners are usually the easiest for getting everyone together, but not always. It doesn't work for everybody. But the point is to make a rule that no one leaves the table until mealtime is over. And this can be an hour each evening or once per week, depending on your schedule. But while the family is congregated, encourage everyone to enjoy their sense of smell and taste while they eat. One practice that we have, that I have with my family, is we ask our kids to share their grow and grow around during mealtime. So we do have regular dinner times together as a family. My husband doesn't always join us, but we have them every single day. And I encourage them to share their glow and grows with us. So what are glow and grows? Glow would be something positive that happened during the day, somewhere where they feel like they glowed. A grow is something, in their language, something bad that happened. Okay, I don't like to use bad because I don't want to label it as so. I prefer to call it grow because it's something you grow from. And so the kids share, something positive, something negative that happened today, and then we talk about, what is the lesson that we can learn from that. So this is a really quick, sweet little habit that you can begin cultivating around your table, and if that doesn't work, whatever, just figure out something that works for you. But like I said earlier, be sure to show gratitude to your family for joining in the experience together, right? So make a point of how grateful you are that they're here, that they are sitting, and that they, even if they don't want to eat, that's fine. But at least say, we would really like to enjoy your company with us. That's something that I've learned from the interviews that I've done with experts about. That was one of my biggest struggles with my picky eater. She would just leave the table, and that was so annoying to me. So when one of the experts taught me, you don't have to pressure her to eat. If she doesn't want to eat, that's fine. But at least tell her that you would really like to have her present while you eat, and she doesn't have to eat. She just needs to be, present. And that on its own changed how she thinks of herself, right? Because I think many times when we leave the table, it's because we don't feel welcome there. And so probably because I had this tendency to pressure her to eat, obviously, she would get up and leave. And now it doesn't happen anymore. And I'm so grateful that it doesn't. But really the point here is to teach them gratitude and you yourself to actually practice it. Okay? So point number 7 is to not eat alone, and also teaching the kids that it's time to connect, and it's time to feel safe, and it's time to share safely. All right, and then my last point, point number 8, treat yourself well. So get into the habit of investigating yourself and why you eat. Next time you sit down to eat, ask yourself, why am I eating this right now? Okay? Ask yourself this question. And that's a very uncomfortable question. I'm sharing with you right away, just the way it is. Especially for someone like me who zooms through food. I don't have time. But sit with the answer. Don't flounder. Give yourself an honest answer. Just wait until an honest answer from your inner self comes. I eat because I'm bored. I eat because I feel sad. I eat because I'm nervous. Right? So really get to the bottom of it. Whatever it is, as uncomfortable the answer is, stick with it. Next, ask yourself, other than eating, how can I get my needs met? Right? Can it be a walk outside? Can you do some stretches, maybe some yoga? I'm going to share with you, a few months ago, my husband did a sugar detox with Eric Edmead's Wild Fit program. And he shared with me a concept that I loved. So when you treat yourself well. So basically what that is redefining the meaning of treat. So stop saying things like, when I finish this project, I'll treat myself to a pizza or to a croissant or to a cake or to a cookie or whatever. Ask yourself, is this really a treat? In other words, is this how you want to treat your body? Instead, maybe you can try a massage or a facial. It doesn't have to be happening right away. This can be something that you schedule. Or maybe you can go out for a coffee with a friend. When it comes to our children, it's not any different. We have a tendency to label foods, right? A chocolate cake is a treat, whereas broccoli is a vegetable. Hence, chocolate is tasty and vegetable is not. This is how kids think. So stop using food as a reward for yourself as well and for your children too. Instead of saying, eat your dinner and then you'll get a treat, say something like, today on the menu we have chicken, rice, vegetables, and chocolate. Let's enjoy our meal together, right? So just by saying it like that, you're leveling all the different kinds of foods. A chocolate is not any more desirable or better than the vegetables, the rice, and the chicken. Vice versa is the same, right? So that's it. There you have it. 8 suggestions to help you eat with love and love your food. Remember that psychospiritually, food is life, and your relationship with food says a lot about your relationship with life. How you treat yourself is the blueprint that you're passing on to your children. And this is true especially if you're raising daughters. Studies show that women are more prone than men to develop unhealthy habits such as smoking, snacking on high sugar, high fat snacks, and drinking caffeine. Very often, these habits are picked up at home. And I'm not saying this to instill shame or guilt on you. You know me better than that. I say this because the faster you rise to the occasion and take responsibility for yourself and your poor relationship with food and your body, the sooner you'll be able to heal and stop generational patterns from reappearing. Okay? When you have a positive relationship with food, so will your children. It is simple as that. It is worth to invest the time and energy to begin instilling healthy eating habits in your family from a young age. So much of raising my children helped me to raise myself, and learning to feed them is not any different right? My brand new program, From Picky Eater to Healthy Eater, was created out of my own struggle to feed myself and my kids. So much of what you're going to learn through this program will help you with your own relationship of food. It's really a co-creative process. So again, to get access to this program, like I said, it's $47. It's really not a big deal. Head on over to my website, www.healthbeginswithmom.com/courses/picky-eating-course. And if you cannot remember that, that's fine. Just head on over to the show notes and I have a link right there for you. All right, my love. Again, happy, happy, happy Valentine's Day. I hope you use this day to connect. I hope you use this day to smile more and sway your hips, to feel more confident, more energized, and more sexy in everything that you do today and every day. And I will catch you next time. Bye for now. Wait, before you go, I hope you've enjoyed this episode, and if you did, I want to know about it. So snap a picture of you listening to this episode and share it on Instagram or Facebook. On Instagram, you can tag me at Dorit Palvanov Coaching. So Dorit is spelled as Dorit and Palvanov spelled as Palvanov Coaching. So it's all one word. Or you can use the hashtag Confident, Energized, and Sexy Mama Podcast. You see, my personal goal beyond having amazing conversations with guests or hosting solo episodes is to increase the visibility for this platform and these messages to be shared and heard by women who need it the most. And there's no way that I can do this on my own. So I'm asking you, the incredible community of confident, energized, and sexy mamas, to help me with this goal. So whether you're coming to me through iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, wherever you're listening to the show from, please rate, review, and subscribe to the show. This would mean the world to me, and it's so helpful for other mothers who are looking for this information. So thank you so much for listening, and I'll catch you next time. Bye for now.